Good morning and welcome to the Wavy Digital Desk. I'm your host, Sarah Good. Today we're going to be speaking about the local milk bank at CHKD. The King's Daughters Milk Bank at CHKD, you've probably heard about it before with Wavy. Ashlyn Harris, the director, has done stories with us in the past talking about what the milk bank does for our community. Well, right now donors are needed. We're going to talk about what the milk bank is, how it works, how to be a donor, and the impact. So let me bring on the director now. Ashlyn, thanks so much for joining us this morning.
Thank you for having me. I'm very excited about this opportunity.
Absolutely. Well, I hate to be speaking with you at a time where we need donors, but also the best time to hopefully speak to you and catch somebody, that is in that group that is eligible to be a donor. First, before we get into sort of the need right now, could you just tell us about the milk bank for those that haven't heard about it before?
Absolutely, yes. The King's Daughters Milk Bank here at Children's Hospital, the King's Daughters, is the first and only milk bank in Virginia. We are a nonprofit milk bank accredited by the Human Milk Banking Association of North America, also known by HIMBANA. We were established 10 years ago to provide the life-saving benefits of human milk to high-risk and vulnerable infants in the NICU here in Hampton Roads, but also up and down the East Coast. And we just celebrated our 10th anniversary this summer with over 4.1 million ounces donated since we opened again in 2014.
Wow, that's a huge moment. Congratulations. And just a little bit background for you, if you wouldn't mind, and how you got into this. You worked with neonatal units before.
Yeah, so my background is neonatal intensive care unit nursing. So I took care of high risk and premature and critically ill infants on life support, helping them to get home to their families. That experience really shaped and molded my career path and my journey towards supporting human milk feeding as a way to prevent disease for infants in the NICU. I became a lactation consultant and also helped establish the milk bank here in the state in 2014. So,
and for you to be on both sides of that and see the impact, before the milk bank, before you came into this role, that must have an impact on your work now.
Absolutely. I've seen the devastating impacts of what happens to premature infants when they are not receiving a human milk diet. It increases their risk of necrotizing enterocolitis, which is one of the leading causes of death in premature infants, by as much as 80%. So experiencing that and being with those families through tragic losses and the ups and downs of the roller coaster ride of the NICU really led me to want to have an impact and make some changes in not only CHKD, but in community hospitals and hospitals throughout our nation to improve outcomes for those babies.
Absolutely. And I feel like having that personal impact must mean so much to people, as you connect with them, as you speak to potential donors.
Absolutely. When a donor finds out that 1 ounce of their milk can literally provide a life-saving treatment to as many as 4 premature infants, it really gets them pumped up and interested in spending the time and energy to express extra milk and to donate to our nonprofit milk bank to help get those babies home to their families. So a little bit goes a very long way.
And you mentioned, this is having impacts along the East Coast. So, I do want to highlight that, it doesn't just go to the NICU at CHKD, but does go along the whole region. How does that spread work? And how does that sort of feel to be able to impact, so many other hospitals and local centers?
Yeah, it's an overwhelmingly rewarding experience to help other hospitals on their journey to providing human milk to high-risk infants. There are 32 or 31 member milk banks within North America, so we're a small but mighty network. And currently, the King's Daughters Milk Bank at CHKD serves over 50 hospital units with pasteurized donor human milk from New Jersey to Florida. So it's a wonderful way, as a previous NICU nurse and always a NICU nurse at heart, to know that I'm still having a hand in helping our nation's most vulnerable infants to survive and thrive.
And let's talk about the donor pool now. So obviously, it's not like giving blood where everybody can help. Everyone can lend a hand, and we've heard about those shortages recently. To be a donor, for the milk bank, there's only a certain window, correct, where people can donate, and there's only certain women really that do have maybe an oversupply or, the ability to donate.
Yes, such a valid point. You could be a milk donor for most of your adult life. I mean, a blood donor, excuse me. Let me correct that statement. You can be a blood donor for most of your adult life. But milk donors have this very small window during their lactation period, which may be months, years, but very short duration where they're able to express surplus milk and help this mission. So there's a constant need to recruit additional donors because as one donor retires, we need to fill that void with another family that altruistically wants to step up, volunteer, and help us advance our mission for reaching these babies.
And where do you all stand right now in terms of having that donor count or having that surplus of milk supply?
Yes, we're currently meeting the need of our hospitals that we serve, but there's always a growing need. The demand continues to rise each year. Last year, our member milk banks dispensed around 10 million ounces throughout North America for high-risk infants in need. And that demand is rapidly increasing each year. So the demand is there. The need for donors is always constantly there. And we really could use help from families that have surplus milk so that we can ensure that these babies don't go without this life-saving treatment.
And how many, you know, I guess the question is, it depends on how long the baby, correct, is maybe in that intensive care unit or in the neonatal unit or at the hospital, right, for how much milk that they're going to need, at least in terms of your facility.
Yes, absolutely. So our goal is that babies receive their mother's own milk. That is the most important milk that they can receive. In fact, the American Academy of Pediatrics have said the potent benefits of human milk are such that all preterm infants should receive mother's own milk. If mother's own milk is unavailable despite significant lactation support, then pasteurized donor human milk should be used. So our goal is that donor milk would just be a bridge, a prescribed medication, like a medication, a bridge until mother's milk volumes is efficient or sufficient for their baby's needs. Sometimes these babies are in the NICU for months. I mean, we had babies when I was in the NICU that we celebrated first birthdays in the NICU. These babies came from the womb to the NICU. They've never been home. When a baby's in the NICU, they are in the NICU until they're discharged home. So they're delivered, they stay in the NICU, they go home. That's a roller coaster ride, as I mentioned earlier, for parents. The ups and downs, babies on life support in incubators, babies that are difficult to hold, babies who have good days followed by several bad days. I mean, it's just very difficult for these families to maintain a supply, especially when a baby is born several months premature. A typical gestation is 40 weeks. Some of these babies are being born as early as 22 and 23 weeks gestation. The reasons a lot of these women go into preterm labor could be their own health risk and issues. So they may have hypertension and other risk factors that require medications that inhibit them from providing their own milk to their baby. There's other issues like separation. Moms might be in a completely different health system than their babies are rushed to a NICU in another hospital. So they don't get to hold them, hear them, smell them, all the things that we need to do to produce a milk supply. Then they go home every night and their baby stays at the hospital. So they visit as much as they can. But once they go home, it's really hard to just respond to a pump around the clock. Other cases are they have multiple children in the home that they're still continuing to care for while trying to make quick trips up to the NICU and visit their baby on life support. It's a really hard road for these families, and they really desperately need our help and our support. Sometimes they're just pumping drops of milk and holding vigil over incubators, hoping their baby's going to make it through the shift. And when they know that that milk is not enough and they know that donor milk is available, it is a huge sense of relief, not only to the parents, but the healthcare providers like myself who have seen the devastating impacts of what happens when babies don't have access to human milk in the NICU.
And at least the stat on your website currently, and we could look at the CDC's updated numbers, but 500,000 premature babies in the United States, and that obviously would vary how long they're staying. To your point, it would vary, what the family can offer them, but that's a lot of babies to take care of in those hospital settings.
Absolutely. 1 in 10 babies are born premature, and that number unfortunately continues to grow. And as that number grows, and we're going to continue to need donor milk to support these babies. The healthcare providers, the neonatologists, they prescribe pasteurized donor human milk as part of these babies' medical treatment. The benefits of human milk are such that you can't find the bioactive components, the antibacterial, antiviral components, the human growth hormones, the human proteins, the anti-inflammatory components. You can't find that in any other form of nutrition. You can't get that in a pharmacy or in an immunization. So it's vital that we provide access and that there's continued access to pasteurized donor human milk for these babies when their mother's own milk is unavailable.
Absolutely. And, now can we talk a little bit about what it looks like to be a donor? Do they call you? Are there certain parameters at how they can preserve their breast milk? And, what's that process really look like?
Right. So some of our hospitals, our NICUs, the families received small amounts of donor milk. Then their milk came in. They worked with lactation consultants and they developed this really robust milk supply, filled their freezers, and their lactation consultants suggested maybe you call the milk bank and you screen and become a donor. It's really remarkable that we get to pick up the phone all day and receive phone calls from family members or for donors who want to volunteer, go above and beyond, spend the extra time to screen and pump extra milk for preemies, all altruistically out of the kindness of their heart, wanting to help other struggling families and babies. So we do have a screening process that's based off of evidence-based national guidelines that are set forth by HIMBANA, a professional accreditation association. It requires a verbal telephone screening that takes about 15 minutes, an online questionnaire that mom can complete at whatever time's convenient for her, and also blood testing. So we want to ensure that mom is negative and non-reactive for diseases during lactation. We also have her OBGYN and her baby's pediatrician complete confirmations of health. So we want to know that mom had good prenatal care, that her baby is growing and thriving on her own milk. So we have lots of different kind of check boxes that we go through to ensure that the mother is a great candidate for donation. The wonderful thing is it's no cost to become a donor. We make this process as easy as possible and do most of the legwork for the donor because we know over 80% of our donors are working moms. They have multiple children in the house, probably a little bit sleep deprived, waking up all night and nursing and pumping. So we really try to make it easy. And most importantly, location is not an issue. It doesn't matter what state the donor's in. We will pay and arrange to ship the frozen milk from the family's home directly to the milk bank at no cost to the family. So we reimburse with breast milk storage supplies, and we also offer ongoing support and guidance related to their lactation journey. We do have a very special program that I would like to highlight where we work with families who are interested in legacy milk donation. Legacy milk donation is donation after a loss, whether it's a miscarriage, a stillbirth, a loss in the neonatal intensive care unit, the pediatric intensive care unit, or a loss in the home. It's a wonderful way to help these families to leave a legacy, but to heal emotionally, physically, and spiritually in a very unique way. So we have a very strong support system for these families. And the program really stemmed from my own experience of working with families in the NICU who experienced a loss. Sometimes they would have freezers full of milk and they didn't know what to do with it. And before programs like this were established, that milk would find its way to the trash can, unfortunately. So this is a wonderful way that all of those precious milk drops, we call it white tears, can be shared with NICUs and babies in NICUs throughout our nation. So yeah, that's our screening process, 3-step process, so easy to do. You can call 757-668-MILK or 6455 to start the screening process. We always encourage anyone who's watching this to spread the word for us. We really want this conversation to be more normalized. Families talk about blood donation, but unfortunately, a lot of people are unaware about the opportunity to donate surplus milk. In fact, a lot of pregnant or expecting families or lactating families just really have no idea that we exist. So we need help raising awareness, spreading the word, and bringing more families to reach our mission, to be a part of our mission and help us reach babies in need.
Absolutely, and I wanted to, show some of the video on screen of you all and your storage area and preparing the bottles and everything. it's amazing, and you just hope that people that are able to donate, this reaches them. And I know that it must be hectic, as whatever side of it you're on as a new mom, but if you are able to donate and that is something that is within your power, thank you for giving that information. I also linked everything from the milk bank on wavy.com. If you're watching on YouTube and Facebook, you can go right there to the information that Ashlyn shared, and find out more about the milk bank as well as how to get in touch. Before we end, I just wanted to talk about the need now, and I know you said that donors are always needed to fill in that gap. For people that are also on, I guess the side of it where they're having the children that aren't, premature, or they have critical, illnesses, or they're in the hospital, it seems like you all, it's just open arms. There's no shame in any of this. Like the way that you're talking about it, it seems that whether you're on the side of being able to produce breast milk or you're not, or you're able to visit with your child in the hospital, it seems like that's where it's coming from. Do you think that, and have you had patients come back to you maybe afterwards that say how much of a difference this has made, and how, I don't know, how open it made them feel, just knowing that you all were providing, such a necessary donation for them?
Absolutely. We do get messages and feedback that it was just a huge sense of relief to know that these families had access to these treatments. The response from the hospitals that we serve often echo the same sentiments, but it's just a wonderful way for families to support families. We're kind of just the middle person, so we're going to ensure safety and quality, but it really just boils down, it takes a village, and we have to lean on each other. And when you have a surplus of milk, what a wonderful way to share with families in great need, and to bring that sense of relief to them as well. Help their babies get home in their arms and their homes, and just growing and thriving. So, there is prioritization and triaging. This isn't a resource that is hugely abundant. I mean, we're meeting the need, but the need's continuing to grow. But we do have to triage the sickest, most fragile infants in our nation. So if you become a donor, if you support our mission, know that you are having an impact directly on reducing our nation's infant mortality or death rates, as well as morbidity or illness rates. So it's a great way to get involved.
Absolutely. Well, 10 years speaks to obviously the need, but also what you all are doing. So, congratulations on that milestone. And, hopefully this reaches someone. There's some comments that you can take a look at after in the Facebook chat from moms that have been able to donate to CHKD. So it's nice to see that community is there, and connecting and listening, and right there, in at least on the Facebook chat. So, it's nice to hear from you. For those leaving messages, really appreciate hearing that personal touch. But Ashlyn, thank you so much for speaking with me this morning. All the information is on wavy.com. Again, you can also go back to past stories that Wavy's done with the milk bank to hear more about individual experiences, but also sort of working with you all over time and sort of just seeing the change. But Ashlyn, thank you so much. Is there anything else before we sign off?
No, just thank you to all the donors, both past and present, who have stepped up and helped us share the health. And we look forward to recruiting additional donors and just normalizing not only donor milk banks, but also normalizing breastfeeding and human lactation as well. Thank you for this opportunity.
Absolutely. So nice to talk to you. Again, if you're watching, please head over to wavy.com to find out additional information and figure out how to connect with the milk bank. Thank you.